Across the blackened Atlantic, whispers of a daring gamble stirred. The fate of continents hinged on dusty shores far from London and Berlin. A second front, not in Europe's heart, but on Africa's dunes, promised salvation through peril. Imagine soldiers sailing past endless waves, clutching rifles and fears. Some gripped children's letters folded thin, others repeated prayers forgotten in peacetime. Heartbeats hammered louder than artillery, yet melted silently into night's expectancy, each man suspended between dread and destiny. Private Henry Walker, carpenter's son from Ohio, stared into dark waters, recalling his mother's warning voice. Beware horizons, they lie. Would Africa greet or consume? Duty demanded forward steps, while doubt gnawed quietly, like mice beneath the foundations of courage. The Mediterranean glistened deceptively calm, hiding enemies below. Minds drifted like dark blooms, ready to blossom disaster. Captains traced courses with trembling compasses, aware death floated invisibly beneath starlight, nature conspiring with steel to erase convoys inching toward promised liberation. You, listening now, could you wade through surf where survival was faith alone? Courage is not void of fear. It is the will to advance while storms roar inside. That was the task awaiting those faceless, fragile men at dawn. Casablanca, Algiers, Oran, names once sung like merchant winds. In autumn, they reeked of powder, suspicion, betrayal. French cannons aimed uncertain. Whose hand would fire? Families wondered, would liberators arrive as brothers or executioners? No one knew until steel answered. Admiral Darlan weighed survival against allegiance. Collaboration chained him, instinct whispered escape. His desk bore maps and revolvers. One pen stroke could collapse orders, tilt continents. He hesitated, conscious that history sometimes shrinks to trembling ink, trembling above stained parchment. Dawn torched beaches with men's shadows charging forward. Boots sank in yielding sand, guns clutched like talismans of distant homes. Bullets seared through salt air. Plans dissolved instantly. Confusion ruled, a brutal playwright improvising tragedy beneath a rising crimson horizon. Walker ducked as waves erupted under shell. Coral fragments sliced his cheek. Memory returned, splitting logs with his father, every strike defining certainty. One more step, he whispered, staggering forward, burdened not by lead but by meaning undecipherable. The paradox stood cruelly clear, liberators bearing foreign uniforms, defenders speaking shared tongue. Families scattered by the sea watched sons collide unknowingly. Torch compelled brothers into roles unsought, destiny's stage demanding struggles no kin intended, no father foresaw, no child forgave. Casablanca's harbor convulsed under Allied bombardment. Battleships hurled thunder into a sky bruised gray. Civilians huddled beneath staircases, whispering prayers against collapse. Liberation arrived dragging chains of destruction, proof that even salvation may trample walls, summoning safety by burning homes. Admiral Michelier hesitated. Orders bound him to resist, conscience urged surrender. Steel hulls moaned as his pen hovered. Betrayal or mercy, both exacted price. In that moment, history dissolved into droplets of ink, heavier than shells, irreversible once spilled. In Algiers, resistance stirred within kitchens, classrooms, taverns. Forged papers, hidden pistols, bread delivered with messages. Whispers ignited courage. Teachers, bakers, students plotted beneath flickering lamps. Each ordinary choice struck cracks into occupation's foundation, insurgency born in silence like unseen embers glowing. Pilot Janet Collier flew nights over Desert Stretch. Engines screamed against storms, Wings threatened to disintegrate. She carried crates heavier than fear, finding paths by constellations scratched on cockpit glass. Her compass was Orion, her strength the stubborn stars. War belonged not only to generals. It belonged to mothers pawning earrings for morphine, sailors steering in darkness, bakers leaving loaves cooling to hide fugitives. Torch's truest blaze came from such hands, anonymous, unrecorded, yet luminous against encroaching night. The desert rolled endless, an ocean devoid of water. Dunes broke momentum, sun-scalded skin. Tanks fractured, willpower buckled. Men stumbled, dragged onward by vision of collapsing Rome. Africa's grip was unforgiving crucible shaping invasion aimed at fortress Europe looming. Walker found a French conscript gasping, words blurred into names. Rifle pointed, yet thirst overcame enmity. He raised canteen to dying lips. For an instant orders perished. Humanity held sway. Both were sons. Both were boys. Both were fractured. Philosophers claim radiance emerges where shadows intertwine. Torch embodied contradiction, brutality masquerading as liberation, freedom carved from scarlet ruins. Farmers' sons, clerks, shopkeepers suddenly sculpted history's bones with bayonets. Nations' futures were battered into being upon smoke-filled marketplaces and fields. Darlan shifted allegiance in moment remembered eternally. Vichy abandoned, allies embraced, pragmatism to some, betrayal to others. His decision cracked loyalty wide. Out of fracture emerged survival. Alliances built on compromise laid fragile but decisive stepping stone toward storms yet greater. War mirrored chessboard's cruelty. Pawns advanced, queens struck, bishops angled silently. None chose station. Trembling fingers commanded their fate. Soldiers were pawns flung forward, nations kings beneath crowns brittle as glass. Torch revealed board unstable, continents balanced upon fragile fingers. Torch's aftermath was ports reborn in firelight. Cranes lifted crates, barrels clattered, voices strained. Supplies poured like arteries nourishing new purpose. Africa became corridor. Flames of Casablanca transformed into sparks of strategy, fueling designs where Europe's fortress would fracture. Eisenhower studied maps, men, hesitation. Should he hammer ruthlessly, risking crumbled alliance? Or negotiate patiently, risking delay? He bore responsibility vast as continents balanced upon weary shoulders. Atlas of command, iron exterior, silent compassion stitched beneath unrelenting military cloth. Across Algeria, French soldiers broke bread with those they had fired upon earlier. Shared wine tasted uncertain, yet necessary. Words faltered, reconciliation tentative. Amid ruins, bridges rebuilt quickly. Humanity clawed toward unity, forced by proximity, tempered by grief. Orders pressed Walker inland. Moon painted sand with silver threads. He carried within memory of compassion shown enemy. The greater battle thundered inside, conscience exporting heavier burden than gear. Step by step he marched half soldier, half trembling human. Remember, empires shift upon fragile gestures. Torch was no destiny but assembly of hesitation, bargains whispered, munitions passed by trembling hands. Its spark emerged not inevitable, but improvised. Every decision fragile thread clinging desperately against storm of annihilation surrounding. Oran's Bay frothed with opposing fleets. French destroyers bled smoke, American steel pressed forward. Worshippers prayed by candlelight beneath quivering beams. Victory reeked of oil mingled with salt, memory etched forever bitter, a perfume entwined with grief, inseparable from ruins. Nurse Marguerite carried stretcher under crumbling stone. Wounds poured equally, Enemy, civilian, ally? Politics silenced within Ward. She learned neutrality erased itself, her choice relentless to keep others breathing minutes longer. Mercy defined her war, humanity resurrected momentarily through trembling hands. Torch glimmered like ember in reluctant wood. Feeble at first, nearly strangled by mistrust. Yet breath of courage coaxed flame, warmth widened. Still, shadows lengthened. Victory's light carried warning. Greater battles stirred beyond horizon, patient as vultures circling distant carrion. Geography dictates destiny. Seas divide, mountains impede, deserts test. Africa's dunes hardened soldiers fit for fortress Europe. Sand stained crimson, but promise gleamed above. Torch exemplified paradox, destruction birthing creation, ruin preparing rebirth, human limits as gateways toward renewed beginnings. "Will this end?" Walker whispered. His comrade answered, "We must believe." Belief alone kept boots moving. Stronger than guns, rarer than water, more necessary than rations. Torch's endurance was not steel, it was conviction, a fragile ember glowing against darkness. Torch was overture. First notes curled across Mediterranean, preludes unfurling toward Sicily. Triumphs disguised new perils. One coastline secured, another demanded. Orchestral war played relentlessly, composers unseen, soldiers reduced to instruments resonating under mallets, producing symphony equal parts terror, resolve. Patton strode into Oran like storm embodied. Soldiers both revered and dreaded him. He exemplified contradictions, a leader ruthless, yet magnetic. They followed reluctantly, yet faithfully, believing ferocity offered slim thread of survival. Awe and fear twined inseparably through ranks. After battle's thunder, silence howled. Charred trucks rusted skeletons, helmets marked shallow graves. Winds erased footprints, sweeping effort like chalk erased. Nature cared nothing. Only bones beneath shifting dunes whispered testimony, unanswered, their voices scattered like grains across desert ocean. Marguerite rinsed cloth in shrinking basin. Soldiers convulsed despite morphine. Identities dissolved to wounds. She wondered if music or laughter could re-emerge unchained. Her inner conflict bellowed louder than howitzers, a war fought inside, no truce ever signed, no peace promised. Torch left symbols, not maps, but candle flame. Flickering, fragile, it pushed back, engulfing dark. Lit upon African shores, it promised possibility while storms raged. Its flame uncertain, its glow incomplete, yet for many, that solitary ember meant survival. In Algiers hotels, chandeliers muffled whispered treaties. Pens signed futures above polished mahogany. Beyond walls, children scavenged bullet casings and women bartered bread. Liberation was velvet-covered bargain while hunger gripped alleys outside. Politics dined, poverty starved, at once entwined and estranged. Walker cursed boots splitting at seams, ate stale rations, buried comrades shallowly. For him, Torch was survival, not maps. His eternity reduced to thirst, exhaustion, fleeting laughter at night. Strategy felt meaningless compared to one step endured after another. Propaganda plastered triumph upon walls, yet voices in trenches told otherwise. They recalled faces submerged by waves, farmhouses leveled. Torch became twofold. Victory resounded in marble halls while men carried grief disguised as triumph, stitched together with fragile sparks. Poets penned verses of cleansing fire. But poetry faltered faced with surf, shrieking men's last words, or shells splintering dreams mid-air. War resists beauty though humans sculpt meaning desperately. Torch lingered between metaphor and ash, between verse and scream. Under Algiers stars, constellations glittered brittle. Soldiers called them guardians. Walker fixed gaze upward nightly, promising unseen witness. If granted survival, he would abandon conquest for gardens, orchards, soil resting beneath peace, steadier than any empire could muster. Moroccan villages bore scars, vineyards charred, shutters riddled. Farmers steered plows through shrapnel-thick fields. Liberation seldom resembled freedom for those whose tables had empty chairs. They looked skyward asking, who calculated price and what abacus could balance grief against victory? Resistance dared greater deeds. They sprayed slogans along walls, braver under Allied presence. Their daring echoed decades forward, birthing revolutions concealed within whispers now shouted. Torch sowed not only military seeds but politics, futures rooted beneath ruins insistent on breathing again. Generals are recorded, but Walker dragging officer across jagged sands remains truest history. His resolve birthed not from command but refusal to yield kin. Heroism existed in instinct, raw and uncelebrated, yet decisive enough to alter fates silently. Should he save others unknown? Walker chose yes. Each private decision outweighing maps, fueling unseen blaze. Heroism flickered hidden in sandstorms, never recorded in reports. Yet history's fire kindled by countless sparks invisible, not from speeches, but men's stubborn mercy. Torch bent Hitler's strategy, forced armies southward. Chessboard lines cracked. Yet soldiers asked, why must liberty drink such oceans of blood? Victory paraded with banners, but beneath brass bands lay ashes, grief heavier than garlands could obscure. Rommel studied sandcloth maps, realization cutting sharper than bayonets. Torch threatened his flank. Supply choked, retreat imminent. Even cunning Fox met storms beyond calculation. The desert whispered indifference, pride dissolved. Every hunter eventually buried by the dunes he scoured. Marguerite gathered notes scrawled by dying lips, tucked them into her dress. Too many letters, no addresses. Pocketed testaments rustled with her every step, fabric carrying entire libraries of final words unspoken beyond collapsing wards. She became archive. Allies raised banners, bands thundered. Yet beneath spectacle, graveyards deepened. Cities cheered but mourned, soldiers praised then forgotten. Torch was paradox embodied, victory earned yet saturated with sorrow. Celebration rang hollow against silence, pressing heavier than every trumpet's blare. Walker opened letter from Ohio. His sister described autumn leaves falling upon quiet lanes. That simple image mattered more than maps. Torch's storm paused inside him, the picture of ordinary season anchoring heart amid extraordinary upheaval. Memory, not medals, sustained him. Men claim war births peace, truth. Each conflict breeds another. Torch was corridor into Italy, into new graves. Peace never arrives final. It gleams, horizon forever receding. Yet humanity pursues, compelled eternally toward the mirage of tranquility tomorrow. Casablanca's ruins echoed laughter of children chasing chocolate. Innocence clawed back moments from wreckage. Their shouts pierced grief, defiant, fragile, unbreakable. Humanity endured, laughing amid rubble louder than artillery. Those voices were truer than banners. They made survival bearable, victory meaningful. Eisenhower wrote in diary, "Leadership constrains like shackles. Friendships vanished. Caring existed, but from distance. Paternal warmth clothed in iron. The burden aged him deeper than desert or marches. Weight carved face. Command devoured intimacy, leaving chains invisible yet crushing. Marguerite once envisioned Paris salons, silk, music. Now wards consumed her gaze. She wondered whether violins might sound unmarked again. Inside, her war thundered unrelenting, longing, loss, unseen echoes louder than cannons. She too carried battlefield within, irretrievable even in silence. For Americans, Africa was crucible before Europe. Sun-scorched, thirst-scarred. Each march hardened resolve. They arrived raw, emerged tempered. Africa remade them iron, proving readiness for assault upon Europe's walls. The crucible's price was blood, yet it forged invasion. Walker inscribed initials into rock. Nations forget, stone remembers. His mark defied erasure, message beyond casualty lists. I lived here. That carving was scripture against oblivion, testimony etched sharper than reports, a memory weathering when armies dissolve, when war retreats. Torch's miracle. French ranks dissolved loyalties, turned suddenly allies. Betrayal transmuted alliance. Politicians exulted, but truth remained. Freedom's soil traced with hesitation, frailty, blood. History pivoted upon such compromises, upon fragile reconciliations hammered into iron by necessity's persistence. After last shells, silence consumed. Gulls shrieked distantly, mothers sobbed, boots trudged across haunted sand. Silence outweighed thunder. That hush was Torch's monument, echo greater than celebration. No parade could bury that stillness, the weight of memory lingering eternal. Mediterranean corridor opened. Ships streamed eastward through Moroccan groves, Algerian alleys, Tunisian ridges. Victory's doors swung wide, but keys were forged in human sacrifice, hammered red-hot in furnaces of fire. No progress free, every mile purchased in anguish, sweat, loss. Walker gazed horizon smoke, rising like fragmented prayers. He whispered, "Let it finish," yet marched onwards. His body bowed to orders, his soul obeyed hope. Shackled equally, he advanced. Stopping was impossible. Duty and longing bound him inseparably together. Torch existed between dusk and dawn, half light where humanity stumbled, weary, unsure. Africa's beaches bore witness to fragile genesis disguised masquerade as grand triumph. Twilight is ambiguous, promise or ending, sunrise or memory extinguished. In that uncertain glow, war lingered. Later generations declared Torch masterpiece. Survivors remembered faces, not maps. Laughter before shelling, kindness amid brutality. True blaze was humanity itself, fragments resisting night. Embers glowed stubborn within darkness, testimony living longer than accolades or parades could ever echo. Marguerite aged whispering truths. She told grandchildren she carried bodies, not gowns. She never glamorized. Salvation glows faint, she said, before searing bright. Torch scarred her, but forged her. Memory endured ember persistent, burning endlessly, never allowed extinguished by time. Walker returned home trembling. He pressed soil of Ohio, planted apple trees. Each branch honored promises murmured beneath alien constellations. His orchard testified war devoured years, but seeds could cultivate peace. Branches bore fruit where artillery once thundered. Renewal bloomed. Torch reminds, history shifts through fragile humans carrying impossible burdens. Victory was never pure. It stitched betrayal, courage, hesitant loyalty, compromise. Yet from threads emerged faint light. Fragile illumination warred with looming dark, flicker holding empires from collapsing utterly. Freedom rises not like wildfire, but like candle. Torch glowed faint upon African dunes, yet redirected continents. its flame uncertain but defiant. Ask yourself, now listening, should history demand your spark? Would you shelter it? Would you dare ignite?